Someone was poisoning me for weeks, and I never expected it would be the person I loved most. That realization hits you like ice in your veins, doesn't it? The quiet fear that the one person you trusted completely was slowly destroying you while pretending to care. If that thought just sent a chill down your spine, stay with me. Because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see love, trust, and your own intuition forever. I used to be a healthy, active man. Then suddenly, everything changed. Unexplained fatigue that no amount of sleep could fix, constant nausea, brain fog so thick I could barely think, dizziness that made me afraid to drive. Doctors ran every test imaginable, but nothing showed up. They told me it was stress, anxiety, maybe even early burnout. But deep down, something felt completely wrong. My body was screaming at me, yet my heart refused to listen. The person responsible was the last one I would have ever suspected, my girlfriend of 4 years. The woman who kissed me good morning, made me coffee, and told me she loved me every single night. The woman I had built my future around. The woman I would have defended with my life. I'm not sharing this story to shock you. I'm telling it as a mentor who is revealing truths most people are never supposed to know. Dark truths about human psychology, about how love can blind us, and about how some people can look you in the eyes while slowly destroying you. At first, I ignored the patterns. The symptoms always seemed worse after meals she had prepared. But I pushed those thoughts away. I told myself I was being paranoid. That's what love does. It makes you betray your own instincts. The human mind is wired to protect the bond. We rationalize, we make excuses. We choose the comfort of denial over the terror of truth. This is one of the most dangerous psychological traps in relationships. It's called cognitive dissonance. When the person we love behaves in a way that contradicts everything we believe about them, our brain chooses to distort reality rather than face the pain. I was trapped in that exact loop. Every time my body rebelled, she was right there, playing the perfect caring partner. She'd hold me when I was sick. She'd tell me she was worried about me. And I believed her, but my body kept warning me. The symptoms would mysteriously improve when I was away on business trips. They would come back stronger than ever when I returned home. Still, I gaslit myself. I thought, she loves me. She would never hurt me. That belief almost cost me my life. The female and male psychology in toxic relationships is far darker than most people are willing to admit. Some individuals, both men and women, are capable of maintaining a perfect mask of love while harboring deep resentment or control issues. They use affection as a weapon. They hide their cruelty behind tenderness. And the scariest part? Many of them don't even see themselves as evil. They justify their actions. They tell themselves they're the victim. I started keeping a secret journal. I tracked every meal, every drink, every symptom. The pattern became undeniable. But when I finally voiced my suspicions, the mask slipped. She didn't get angry. She did something far more sinister. She turned it around on me. She cried. She told me I was imagining things. She said I was becoming paranoid and that I was hurting her with my accusations. That is classic gaslighting, a psychological manipulation tactic designed to make you doubt your own sanity. This is a truth most people are never supposed to learn. The person who claims to love you the most can sometimes be the most dangerous person in your life. Not because all partners are evil, but because some people are masters at hiding their darkness behind intimacy. I began to feel like I was losing my mind. I was getting sicker, yet everyone around me said I had the perfect relationship. She posted loving photos of us online. She told our friends how worried she was about my health. Meanwhile, I was deteriorating in silence. The psychological torment was almost worse than the physical symptoms. The human psyche has an extraordinary ability to deny what it cannot emotionally survive. I kept thinking, if this is really happening, then everything I believed about love is a lie. And that thought was too terrifying to accept. So I stayed, I ate the food, I drank the coffee, I kissed her goodnight while my body was being poisoned. This is not just my story, this is the hidden story happening in many relationships right now. The quiet sabotage, the slow destruction wrapped in affection, the psychological warfare that leaves no bruises but destroys from the inside. I want you to listen carefully. Your body speaks to you. Your intuition speaks to you. When something feels wrong in a relationship, there is almost always a reason. The biggest mistake we make is choosing loyalty to another person over loyalty to ourselves. What I eventually discovered shattered me in ways I still struggle to describe. The person I had planned to marry, the woman I had defended and cherished, was the one systematically making me sick. And when I finally learned why, it broke something deep inside me that took years to heal. I'm going to tell you the full story. I'm going to reveal the psychological games that made it possible. And most importantly, I'm going to show you the hidden signs that someone close to you might be harming you. Signs that most people miss until it's too late. Because the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves to protect the illusion of love. The more I paid attention, the more the truth began to reveal itself in ways that terrified me. I started testing small things. I would secretly switch my coffee with one she didn't touch. The symptoms would lessen. I would eat food I prepared myself when she was out of the house. I felt better. But every time I returned to our normal routine, the sickness came back stronger than before. My body was no longer willing to stay silent, even if my heart still was. This is where the real psychological warfare began. When she sensed I was pulling away or becoming suspicious, she didn't get defensive in an obvious way. Instead, she became even more loving, more attentive. She started doing all the little things I had once wished for, cooking my favorite meals, leaving sweet notes, initiating intimacy. It was as if she could feel my doubt and was trying to smother it with affection. This is one of the darkest truths in toxic psychology. Some people use love as a weapon to keep control. I learned later that this is called intermittent reinforcement, the same psychological principle used in gambling. You give someone just enough good moments to keep them addicted, even while you're harming them. My mind was trapped in that cycle. One day I felt like I was dying. The next day she would be so sweet that I convinced myself I was imagining everything. The constant back and forth broke my nervous system. The female psychology in these situations can be especially devastating because society teaches us that women are naturally nurturing. So when a woman uses that expectation against you, your mind simply refuses to compute it. I kept thinking, mothers, sisters, girlfriends, they're supposed to care. But some people, regardless of gender, carry deep wounds that turn them into predators in their closest relationships. She began gaslighting me on a whole new level. When I mentioned my symptoms, she would say things like, "You've been so stressed at work lately. Maybe you're just imagining it." Or she would flip it completely. "If you really think I'm doing something to you, maybe you're the one who's sick in the head." The worst part? I started believing her. I questioned my own memory. I questioned my own body. That is the goal of psychological abuse, to make the victim doubt their reality so completely that they become dependent on the abuser for truth. I want you to understand something important. This doesn't only happen in obviously broken relationships, it can happen in ones that look perfect from the outside. We had friends, we went on vacations, we posted happy pictures. No one would have believed me if I had told them what was happening. And that isolation is part of the strategy. The abuser makes sure you feel like no one will believe you. There were moments when I caught small cracks in her mask, the way her eyes would flash with something cold when she thought I wasn't looking. The strange satisfaction she seemed to get when I was too weak to get off the couch. These micro-expressions lasted less than a second, but my subconscious recorded every one of them. The human brain is remarkably good at detecting deception, but our need to be loved often overrides that ability. I began to research slow poisoning and covert abuse in relationships. What I found horrified me. There are thousands of people living through similar situations, partners adding substances to food or drinks, slowly making the other person sick while playing the role of devoted caregiver. Some do it for control, some do it for attention, some do it out of deep resentment they never express directly. The psychology behind it is chilling. They get to feel powerful while appearing innocent. The betrayal went beyond the physical harm. She had watched me suffer for weeks. She had held me while I was sick and whispered that everything would be okay. Every comforting touch had been a lie. That realization broke something fundamental inside me. My ability to trust, not just in her, but in love itself. This is a truth most people are never supposed to learn. The closest person to you can become your greatest threat. The person who knows your habits, your weaknesses, and your blind spots is in the perfect position to destroy you without anyone suspecting a thing. And the scarier part is how normal they can appear while doing it. I started sleeping in the guest room. I bought my own food and kept it locked away. I watched her when she was in the kitchen. The woman I once wanted to marry now felt like a stranger living in my house. The emotional pain of that shift was almost worse than the physical symptoms. I wasn't just losing my health, I was losing the entire future I had built in my mind. But here's what I want you to understand deeply. Your intuition is smarter than your love. Your body keeps score even when your heart refuses to. If something feels wrong, it usually is. The biggest mistake we make in relationships is abandoning ourselves to keep the peace. We silence our inner voice to avoid rocking the boat, and some people count on exactly that. I was now facing a choice that no one should ever have to face: continue pretending everything was normal, or accept that the person I loved had been harming me for weeks. The psychological weight of that decision was crushing, because accepting it meant accepting that I had been betrayed by the one person I let completely inside my heart. What I discovered next was even more disturbing than I imagined. The real reason behind it all was something I never saw coming. And when the full truth finally came out, it didn't just break my trust in her, it broke my trust in myself. The night I finally got undeniable proof, I felt something inside me die. I had installed a small hidden camera in the kitchen, something I never thought I would do in my own home. What I saw on that footage didn't involve dramatic scenes or evil laughter. It was worse. It was quiet, calculated, cold. She would carefully take a small bottle from her purse, add drops into my coffee or my food, and then put on that same gentle smile she always gave me. The same smile that once made me feel like the luckiest man alive. In that moment, watching the woman I loved deliberately make me sick, I felt a level of betrayal that no words can properly describe. My body began shaking uncontrollably, not from fear, from pure emotional shock. This is a truth very few people are ever ready to accept. Some individuals can look at you with love in their eyes while actively working to destroy you. It's not that they don't feel anything. It's that their feelings are completely disconnected from their actions. Psychologists call this compartmentalization, the ability to separate the part of themselves that claims to love you from the part that needs to control or punish you. When I finally confronted her, the mask completely shattered. At first, she denied everything. Then she cried. Then she attacked. She told me I was crazy, that I had been filming her without consent because I was paranoid and abusive. In a matter of minutes, she flipped the entire narrative. I went from being the victim to being the villain in her story. This is how truly dangerous people operate. They never accept responsibility. They simply rewrite reality. The real reason she had been poisoning me came out slowly, like poison itself. She admitted she had been unhappy for over a year. She felt trapped by the life we had built. But instead of having the courage to leave, she chose a darker path. She wanted me weak. She wanted me sick. She wanted me dependent on her so she could control the relationship and eventually leave without guilt, or perhaps never have to leave at all because I would be too ill to function without her. This is one of the darkest corners of human psychology. Some people would rather slowly destroy their partner than face the discomfort of being alone or losing their lifestyle. It wasn't about hate, it was about power and control. She enjoyed being the caretaker. She enjoyed the sympathy she received from friends and family for dealing with my mysterious illness. My suffering gave her purpose. My weakness made her feel strong. I sat there listening to her confession and realized I had been in love with a version of her that never actually existed. The woman I adored was a carefully constructed mask. Behind it was someone who saw me as an obstacle to her happiness rather than a partner. The psychological impact of that realization cannot be overstated. It doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your entire operating system for trusting people. This is where many victims get stuck. Even after discovering the truth, they still struggle to let go. The trauma bond is incredibly powerful. Your brain has been conditioned through cycles of love and harm to stay attached. You become addicted to the small moments of affection like a drug. I was no different. Part of me still wanted to believe there was an explanation, that maybe she was sick too, that maybe we could fix it. But the mentor inside me, the part that had been quietly watching all along, finally spoke loud enough for me to hear. She is not confused. She is not broken. She is dangerous. The hidden truth about relationships that no one wants to say out loud is this: love is not enough. A person can love you and still destroy you if their psychological wounds are deep enough. Love without conscience, love without empathy, love without accountability is simply another form of manipulation. I moved out 3 days later. The physical symptoms slowly began to fade once I was no longer exposed, but the psychological damage ran much deeper. I couldn't trust my own judgment anymore. Every kind gesture from anyone felt suspicious. I became hypervigilant, analyzing every word, every action, every smile. The very thing she tried to break, my mind, had been damaged in the process of protecting itself. This is what covert abuse does. It doesn't leave visible scars, but it leaves invisible ones that affect every future relationship. You begin to question your own intuition. You attract the wrong people because your ability to detect danger has been distorted. The recovery is not just about healing the body, it's about rebuilding your ability to trust yourself. I want you to hear this clearly. If you are in a relationship where your health is declining, where your intuition keeps sending warning signals, where you feel confused and drained despite being loved, please listen to your body. Your body is not lying to you. The mind can be fooled, the heart can be manipulated, but the body keeps the score. There are people in this world who should never be allowed close to your heart, not because they are monsters in the traditional sense, but because their psychological makeup makes them dangerous in intimate relationships. They crave control, they fear abandonment, they need to feel powerful, and they will use love as the perfect disguise. I was lucky. I survived. Many people don't. Some lose their health permanently, some lose their sanity, some stay until it's too late. The final truth I learned from this nightmare is perhaps the most important one. The most dangerous person in your life will rarely look dangerous. They will look like home. They will look like love. They will look like everything you've ever wanted, until one day you realize they were slowly killing you while calling it care. The months that followed were some of the darkest of my life. Even after I left, her voice stayed in my head. The gaslighting didn't stop just because I moved out. She told our mutual friends that I had lost my mind, that I was accusing her of horrible things because I couldn't handle my own health issues. She painted herself as the victim and me as the unstable one. This is how psychological abusers operate even after they've been exposed. They never stop rewriting the story. I lost friends. I lost confidence. I lost my ability to trust anyone, including myself. The psychological damage went far deeper than the physical poisoning. For a long time, I couldn't even look at food prepared by someone else without feeling intense anxiety. My nervous system had been rewired by months of betrayal. Every kind gesture felt like a potential trap. This is the hidden cost that most people never talk about. The body heals faster than the mind when trust has been murdered. But through the pain, I began to see clearly for the first time. I realized how many warning signs I had ignored. The love bombing in the beginning, the subtle ways she isolated me from my friends, the way she always positioned herself as the caring one while making me feel dependent. These were not random behaviors, they were patterns, and I had overlooked every single one because I wanted so badly to believe in the fantasy of us. This is perhaps the most important truth I can give you today. Your intuition is the most sophisticated detection system you will ever have. It speaks quietly at first, a feeling of unease, a sense that something is off. Most of us silence that voice because we're afraid of what it might mean. We choose the illusion of love over the discomfort of truth, and some people count on that exact weakness. The psychology of betrayal like this runs deep. Many abusers, both men and women, are not cartoon villains. They are often wounded people who never healed. They crave control because they feel powerless inside. They manipulate because they're terrified of abandonment. But understanding them does not mean you must forgive them. Some people are simply not safe to love. I learned that real love does not make you sick. Real love does not make you question your sanity. Real love does not require you to abandon yourself. If your relationship is costing you your health, your peace, or your sense of self, it is not love. It is an attachment wound wearing love's clothing. Today, years later, I am healthy again. Not just physically, but emotionally. The journey back to myself taught me more about human psychology than any book ever could. I now recognize the patterns immediately, the sudden intense affection followed by subtle cruelty, the way some people use your love against you, the way they make you feel crazy for noticing the harm. My greatest wish is that this story saves someone listening right now. If you are in a relationship where your health is declining, where you feel constantly drained, where your intuition keeps raising alarms, please listen. Do not make the same mistake I made. Do not gaslight yourself into staying. Your life is too valuable to be slowly taken from you by someone who claims to love you. The hardest truth I learned from this entire nightmare is this. Sometimes the person who says, "I love you" the most is the one who loves you the least. They love what you provide. They love how you make them feel. But they do not love you. And that distinction can mean the difference between life and death. I want you to promise yourself something today. Promise that you will never again ignore your body when it screams. Promise that you will never again dismiss your intuition to keep someone else comfortable. Promise that your loyalty to yourself will always be greater than your loyalty to any relationship. Because the moment you break that promise, you open the door for people who can sense that weakness, and some of them will walk right through it with a smile. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you a very personal question. Have you ever ignored your intuition in a relationship even when something deep inside you knew something was wrong? What happened and what did you learn from it? Write your honest answer in the comments below. Your story might save someone else who is currently trapped in the same cycle. I read every single comment. If this video moved you or opened your eyes, please do 3 things. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with one friend or family member who needs to hear this message. You never know who might be silently suffering right now. Remember this, your intuition is sacred, your health is sacred, and your peace is non-negotiable. Never let anyone convince you otherwise.